So, you might feel like we've been on lesson 9 for a long time, and you'd be right, okay? Lesson 9 takes some extra effort because there's a lot of information in lesson 9. I would rather take a little longer and have you feel a little bit more comfortable with the information than I would to say, lesson 9 we did last week, let's do lesson 10 this week, okay? So, in lesson 9, we've covered most of the information, but there's some more practice to be done, and there's a little bit more to learn yet from lesson number 9. The first thing that we're going to talk about in lesson number 9 sort of goes back to something we learned several lessons ago about masculine and feminine. And at that point, we only learned the masculine word for the word you. So you and you we learned, but we didn't learn you and you, or you or you. But we learned you, okay? So the word meaning you can either be masculine or feminine. We learned the masculine. That was this one. Does anyone remember how we pronounced that? You can read it. Go ahead, Joseph. Ata. Okay? So you are, or your name is, or you have it, give it to me. Most of that is implied. But you, I can't ask Ata to Robin, because Robin would completely ignore me because she knows I'm not talking to her because I'm speaking in the masculine form. So she wouldn't even bother to listen to me, okay? But Jerry would pick up his head immediately to say, huh, what'd you need? And I'd say, brownies, and he would, immediately refer me back to a different you. So we're going to talk about the feminine you tonight. Tonight we can talk about the feminine you because last week we learned the schwa. This looks like a vowel sign. It is, but the way we've learned it at the moment, it has no sound at all. So just like the aleph, which is a consonant that has no sound, we have a vowel underneath of it, right? So if we have an aleph and we have a vowel, this has no sound, so we just say ah, correct? All right. So if we have a tav, that's our new tav sign, right? Can have a dot in the middle or not, whichever you like. And we put a schwa underneath of it. We have a t sound, but that has no sound. There's not very many of these. Don't get worried about them, okay? And it's where this is placed in the word that helps us to know whether it has a sound or not, okay? I think it's next week, though it might be lesson 11, before we actually learn a sound and where this is. Right now, you're only going to see the schwa inside the letter. You're not going to see it under the first letter. You might notice that. Tonight, you won't see it under the first letter. Because under the first letter, it's going to have a sound, okay? Inside the word, it's going to be a syllable break. So if we have a tav and a shin, okay? Oh, that's not a very good example. Let's do it like this. And you've seen this in your books. That's not the end of the word. That's a syllable break. There's some more letters over here. So we're going to blend these letters together and stop, sort of like a comma, a syllable break. Okay? That's how you get Shavuot for the Festival of Weeks, right? It's not Shavu and Ot, it's Shavuot. Okay? There's a syllable break in there, Shavu and Ot, but it's all one word. And I think you've heard that word enough times, probably through various experiences. Everybody's familiar with that word, Shavuot? No, some not. Okay. Shavuot is simply the name of one of the festivals like Pesach or Hanukkah. Okay. But it has one of those, we usually put like an apostrophe or something like that. A lot of people will write that way, but in all truth, it probably has a shva in there. Okay. So we're going to do a little bit of practice with atah. And how do we say this one? At. At. Okay. Reading down through ah, t. No sound. Okay. All right. So let's look at page 69. And in box number 1, we see a little boy who's speaking. Is he speaking to a man or to a woman? He's speaking to a man. If you said a woman, then you're looking from the wrong direction on the page, okay? Box number 1, we see the little boy pointing at the man. Let's look at the man's shirt and find out what his name is. David. Everybody good with that? Everybody comfortable with reading David on the man's shirt? Okay. So now let's see what the little boy is saying. Okay. He's saying, wait a minute, did I write it wrong? No, I didn't write it wrong. Okay. All right. He's saying what? Let's read what the little boy is saying. You. No, in Hebrew, please. Atah David. So what is he, when we translate that to English, we're saying, you are David. You are David. Okay? But he can't say that to a woman whose name is Davina. Okay? Because that would be the wrong word for you. Okay? So I don't know if this is true, but in English, it used to be that if we didn't have a clear masculine or feminine, even though our language doesn't use it, many, many people do use it. Most men I know will call their truck a she. Right. How many guys do you know that call their truck a she? Yep, Dale just raised his hand in the back. She's a good one. Okay. What else do we call masculine and feminine? Trucks all the time. Ships. Ships are she's, aren't they? Yep. Ships are she's. Joseph. A rifle. It's your girl. Well, now I feel differently about that, but anyway. Okay, and probably because they want to implant the mind, most of you are guys in the group, not all maybe, but most, and you want to take care of your girl, right? You want to do a good job and care for her, so you can call your rifle your girl, take care of your girl, okay? What else so we have some various things in English that we assign masculine and feminine. More and more, there's a political move to say, you're not allowed to do that. They'll never get rid of it completely because it's an idiom of English. People use it without even thinking about it. But you will hear more and more of a push, and it's a political push, to either make it non-designatory, like shim, or I forget the other word, that it's a plural, they, a singular they. So what do they want? What do they want? There is a way to say they singularly, and I don't even remember the examples, but they do exist.
Somebody knocks on your door and your mom says, what do they want?
Yes, perfect example. What do they want? There might be 3 people out there on the step. There might be only 1. But what do they want? Go and see what they want, okay? Go and see what they want when they called your name over the loudspeaker. One person's voice called your name over the loudspeaker. Go and see what they want, okay? But there's a political move to not say she or him, but to just say they, and it's a personal preference. I would like to be called they. Okay. You know, and being respectful. If people say that to us, we'll try to accommodate them. But it's going to take 3 more generations before it becomes anything natural at all, I'm quite certain. But in other languages, and I don't know if we could say this is Romance languages, it's certainly true in Spanish, it's certainly true in French, and it's true in Hebrew. There are masculine and feminine. Is it true in Latin? Anybody study Latin? Anybody from Catholic background? No? Okay. I don't know if it's true in Latin, but English comes out of Latin, so it may not be true in Latin, okay? There's no easy way for people who have not grown up with masculine and feminine words to move into that transition. So that's one of those things that if you get it wrong, you get it wrong. It's not the end of the world. People are going to understand you. They're going to pat you on the head and say, yes, you American, you know. But just like we are kind to people who don't speak my native English from southeastern Pennsylvania, if you don't speak it properly like we do in southeastern Pennsylvania, I'm not judgmental of you. I don't condemn you. I accept you and say, oh, where are you from? You don't speak the King's English properly at all. Now I have to tell you a funny story. The word Yankee started out meaning, to the people in Britain, it was a very derogatory term, and it meant them people over there in the colonies, the Yanks, the Yankees. But as the word became into common usage in America, it was those above the Mason-Dixon line that were Yankees. The people that lived below the Mason-Dixon line were certainly not Yankees. The Yankees lived over there, just as in England they lived over there, right? But in the north, above the Mason-Dixon line, everybody knows that a Yankee is somebody from New England. It's not somebody from Pennsylvania. We're not Yankees, unless we're talking to them Southerners, like I'm married a Southerner. So instantly I was a Yankee. Never been a Yankee before, they're from New England. But if you live in New England, a Yankee is not somebody from New England, it's somebody from Vermont. Everybody knows only them from Vermont are Yankees. And if you live in Vermont, Vermonters are not Yankees. People who have outhouses are Yankees. So different words take on all kinds of different meanings. I love that story. For no reason whatsoever, I've amused you. There you go. So all of that to not make our point, but our point being masculine and feminine. So let's look in block number 2, and we see who's speaking. We're on page 69. 69 in the first book. We haven't entered the second book yet. So on page 69 in block number 2, who is speaking? The little girl. And she's looking at somebody with a name sign, a name tag. Let's read that person's name tag and find out the name of that person. What is it?
Gila?
Gila? Yes. Gila. Now, I don't know the name Gila. I don't know anybody named Gila. But I can sort of surmise from this picture that it's a woman's name, probably from the sound of the word as well, but I could get that wrong, okay? But what is she saying? Because this is going to be very clear when we hear what she has to say, whether Gila is a male or a female, okay? Because she's going to say what? At Gila. So now we know that she knows she's speaking to a woman, okay? Because she's a Sabra, we're sure of that. Everybody remember what a Sabra is? Someone born in Israel, a native Israeli. All right, so let's look at block number 3. We see a girl speaking, and somebody has a box. On the box is their name, because that's their box, right? Let's read the box and see what that person's name is. Now, there's a shva in there.
Yeah.
What is it? Miriam. Miriam. We might say Miriam, but that's not how she would say her name. Miriam.
What question?
Yeah.
After the R up there at the top.
A yud with a vowel underneath of it. So giving it a yah, okay, yam. So Miriam, okay, and she says to Miriam what? At, Miriam, because she knows that's a female, okay? Now, do you think there are names in Hebrew that could be masculine or feminine?
Oh,
Sure. So don't worry about that. If you become a Sabra, which you can't do, and you're speaking to someone, they're going to correct you if they're in a position of correction to you. If you use the wrong you, Jerry's trying to think of a name that's used between male and female. I don't know any. I could see Ori being male or female, although every Ori that I have known has been a male. But Ori means light, so I could see somebody choosing light for a daughter. I mean, I've never heard of an Ori that was a girl, but yeah, in Tel Aviv. In Haifa they would, okay. Okay, in number 4, now there we don't have a name tag. The little boy is pointing. I can't tell. Is that a boy or a girl that he's pointing to? It's hard to tell. So let's look at what he's saying and we'll know. What's he saying? At. So what does that tell us? That he knows. He knows that's a girl. So now let's read what her name is. That's our new Vav sound. Var. Da. Varda. I don't know the name Varda. He does. That's Varda. You are Varda. Okay? Let's look at number 5. Let's read what the man is saying, and then we'll know whether this is a man or a woman dressed in a suit. Okay? So let's read what it says. Ata. Uri. Ori. When I was taking one of the levels of Hebrew, I had the opportunity to study under a young man and woman who were from Israel, and they were going to the University of Maryland in Princess Anne. And we both families had babies at the same time, and they named their son Ori. So that's always been a name I've learned early on and stuck with me. Okay, and you know what I just realized? Had you guys even written this in there? I'm reading this as though in my book all the answers are in there. like you can see that, right? I'm so sorry. And see, she'd already written it in. So where that blank space is where you're supposed to be writing which kind of you. Is everybody clued into that? Okay. So in box number 6, what do we need to write in there? Ata. Why are we writing ata? Because we're referring to a boy. It's not by who is speaking, it's by who she's referring to, okay? And what is his name? What is it? Almost. Yitzhak. Isaac. Yitzhak. My nephew's name is Isaac, and when he was a boy, I used to always call him Yitzhak. Okay, in block number 7. Block number 7 is a whole bunch of space to write something in. So we're going to go by the name tag. So let's read the name tag first. That's a chet. Cha. Chaim.
I can't do the CHs.
Yes, you can. But you probably can't do them inside your head. So you almost have to say it out loud to get the chaim. Okay? Most closely associated would be Hiram. Okay? So if we anglicized his name, it would be Hiram probably. Okay? So now we're going to write into that space what? Ata. Chaim. Chaim. Okay. And in the last one, in block number 8, Let's see with a word, the name of written on her t-shirt is what?
Aviva.
Aviva. Aviva. There's no shma in there. There's a hatak patak, but that's not a shva, right? It's a hatak patak. So Aviva, okay? So now the woman is going to say to her, At Aviva. Okay? Okay, why are you grinning like that? Oh, okay. At Aviva. All right. Now, this is a complicated page next, and this is why I didn't want to rush lesson number 9, okay? Let's turn to page 70. And I think maybe we'll break into our groups to do this page, okay? Because I really want everybody to have a chance to work through these sentences, all right? But what we have are 6 blocks with a Hebrew letter in them, okay? And at the bottom of the page, there are 10 sentences. Only 6 of those sentences are pictured. So you're going to need to read all 10 sentences, translate them in your mind, and then say which picture shows what that sentence is saying, and then put the Hebrew letter that's by the picture by the sentence, okay? So let's break into reading groups, 3 groups, one over there, one down here, one back there, okay? And let's try to get everybody reading full sentences, all right? So take your time. If we don't get out of lesson 9 tonight, that's perfectly all right, okay? All right. So what we've been practicing when you were away on the YouTube, what we were practicing was reading the sentences on page 70. And we read through those sentences and we were extremely literal in our interpretation of what it said. So if it said that the fish is in the family and there's no picture of a fish in a family, don't interpret that as which child is swimming like a fish in the pool. Because it doesn't say which child is swimming like a fish in the pool. That's not what the sentence says. The sentence says there's a fish in the family. If you can find a picture of a fish in a family on page 70, well, you're a better man than I am, Gungadin, because there's no picture of a fish in a family there, all right? So read each sentence and figure out what those, you've had every single one of those words. If you're on the YouTube, you've had every one of those words presented. So go back through your book, find those words again. Remember our letters for bait for the word in and hey for the word the, okay? I think those are the only 2 that are used in this one, okay? So now we're going to talk about something else that is, shall we say confusing in Hebrew. Let's say confusing, okay? It's really not confusing, and it really is a marvelous thing, but it can seem confusing at first, okay? And that's the concept that I wrote up here of roots, okay? You all know about root words because in English, we use root words all the time. Here's a root word. What's that root word? Read. Well, we know it's a root word because we could put a suffix on the end. And now we can all use our purple pen and underline the root word, right? Or we could use our yellow crayon and circle the suffix. We all did those in elementary school as we learned what a suffix was. Or maybe we learned this word. Pre-read the material before you read out loud. And your prefix is here, and your root word is there. So you know that concept, okay? But now we'll just make it Hebrew. That'll be fun. In Hebrew, all root words are 3 letters. That's what makes it different. Because all words in Hebrew are not 4 letters or 5 letters or 8 letters. And there's some 3-letter words and some 2-letter words. How can it have 3 letters and be a root word if it only has 2 letters? I cannot explain that to you. I'm not going to try to explain that to you. Don't worry about it, okay? Because what we're going to talk about right now is root words, all right? So we're going to look on page 71, and there we have 3 trees, okay? And at the bottom of the page, you have 3 roots. Nothing's written there yet, right? Okay. So at the bottom, the very bottom of the tree, at the bottom of the page, it says, fill in the roots of each tree with its matching 3-letter root. So you're going to look down through the words on the tree, okay, and see if you can find the 3 letters that are in every single one of the words in that tree, and see if you can come out with a root word on the roots of the tree. So you look at it and see if you can find the 3 letters that are in every single one of the words in that tree. Go. All right, so when we're talking about root letters and root words, usually when whoever's speaking about them and is writing them and showing them to you, they're going to write them like this with a period in between them. So you'll know we're talking about a root word, okay? So they're separating the letters so that you'll see the 3 separate individual letters. And these are written down at the bottom of your page. This is the first one that's on the bottom of your page, okay? What letter is this? What? This one? A vav. A vav, yeah. Why is it a vav?
Is it a V?
A vate, sorry.
Because it don't have a V.
Right, because it doesn't have a belly button, right? Okay, all right, that. How did they write it? How did they write vate?
V-E-T.
Okay, vate. All right, how about this one? Dalet. Okay, and this one? Lamed. See, some I can spell. Okay, all right, so which tree has these 3 letters in every word inside the tree?
Separate.
The third one.
The third tree. This root is not a root that you know already. It's not a word that you already know. Okay? The reason they chose this word, separating, okay, as the word that they put at this tree is because it has all 3 of these letters in every one of those sample words. So they wanted to get a bunch of words. These are all actual words inside the tree, okay? I'm not going to translate them for you. It doesn't matter. Right now we're just seeing and pronouncing the words inside the tree. Some of them are a bit archaic, meaning they're not really used very often, but they are legal words in Hebrew. And they were chosen by the writers of the text because they had all 3 letters from our root word of separating.
So is that what that word says, separating?
That is those are the root letters
Means
in separating. So probably when we write the full word separating,
you'll see those.
there might be other, but you'll always see these 3 letters in words having to do with separate, separated, separating, to separate, any word that has something to do with separating is going to have these 3 letters inside of it, okay? The concept we're trying to get across to you is that words in Hebrew have 3-letter roots. It's the concept I'm trying to get across to you is not memorize the word separating. That's not what I'm trying to get across to you tonight. What I'm trying to get across to you tonight is many words have these letters in them, and as you begin to associate these letters together with the concept of separating, you might be able to guess what a word means. Do I mean that you have to memorize every set of root words? Oh my goodness, no. But you might begin to recognize a few. There's 3 on your page. So let's look at the middle one. Oh, we should have done the other one first.
Well, we're doing the third tree, right?
The third tree was separating, yes.
Yeah, so which one of these are they in? How many?
I'm sorry, say that again.
I thought you were supposed to find the words that had the root word in it.
Everyone.
All of these. Do you find all of the letters for separating? Here's
Right.
the word separating, so put that in your root right there,
Okay.
okay?
But which-
And then notice that each one of these words has all of those letters inside the word someplace.
So, they're not together.
Not necessarily together, someplace in the letter.
Okay.
I mean, someplace in the word, okay? We've done that, Val, Herik Yud, okay? So we're looking to see that there's a Veit, there's a Dalet, and there's a Lamed in there. That's all we're trying to find. In the next word down, is there a Veit? Is there a Dalet? Is there a Lamed? Okay? That's all we're trying to see. We're trying to see those 3 letters inside every single one of those words. And if we took our dictionary, we could look up each of those words and do that. That'd be a wonderful thing to do. Take your Hebrew English dictionary and look them up. Remember, the words in a Hebrew English dictionary are written in order alphabetically, which we haven't learned the alphabet in direct order, but some of the pages that I've given you has it. It's certainly online in order. So Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, okay, are the letters that go in order. You can look that up. And then if you want to look up a word in the Hebrew dictionary, you simply go by Aleph. Aleph is the first. So if the word is beginning with an Aleph, you look under the Aleph section, just like in an English dictionary. That may be way over our heads at this point. So if it's something real important to you, ask me about it and we'll work on it together without everybody else in the class, okay? All right, so the second,
So
The second letter should be a hey.
oh, it should be, yes, you're right. Hey, it's got a hole in there. Okay,
those 3 letters are gonna be together to be that root word.
not necessarily side by side.
Oh, they are in all our examples.
Oh, good,
Okay.
yay.
I mean, like reading is together.
Right, right.
Well, they might have.
And this one, I think they were all together too. It's just that Herik Yud made it look like they weren't, okay?
It's still
All right, so this word is what? Loving, okay? And do you see the letters together in each sample on the tree? Okay, is everybody good? All of these have to do with loving, okay? And they're all, the letters are are they all in order? I think they're all in order, but there may be vowels in between, okay? So it's the root of the word, okay? And if you take each word in your tree and look it up online, and there's ways that you can type in Hebrew online, you know, so that you can spell it out with the Hebrew letters. You just click on it, okay? And then these words will come up and you'll see each one of them have to do with the concept of love, okay? All right, so our third tree.
Is that supposed to be a nun or a they?
No, it's supposed to be
A they?
Oh, you're just catching me on all my bad stuff. Good for you. Good for you. All right, so the last one is a kuf. Make sure I don't do it wrong for Jill here. And a, whoops,
I keep getting that second one mixed up. Other thing, yeah. I keep getting the rest and the bottom.
a vav, and a hey. A kuf vav hey. And you'll hear people talk about root, kuf vav hey. People who are fluent in Hebrew can do that. I can't. Okay? I have to look at the letters and I have to figure it out and so forth, all right? But what I can pay attention to is those three letters go together. They make up the root word of the word hoping, okay? So what's a word that we talked about that had to do with hope? We listened to some music.
Oh, so how about anthem?
Yes, the hope,
Tikva?
ha-tikva, okay? So, and anybody that's watching on YouTube can just type in the hope in Hebrew or the Hebrew national anthem, okay? If you would like to hear it. It's a marvelous thing to hear. And you will hear it in the background of movies at times because it is a national anthem. And if it has to do with Jewish things, frequently that's the music that they'll pick to go behind there. When I went to the Holocaust Museum in Israel, they played the national anthem continuously behind a marvelous display of pre-Holocaust Hebraic pictures. So happy families all over the world in this marvelous set of pictures, just continually changing, happy, normal, regular people doing ordinary, regular things with the anthem playing in the background softly behind, and then the changes began to happen. And those happy, normal, ordinary things were taken away, you know, and that was the beginning of the tragedy of saying, well, you're not allowed to have violin lessons anymore. You're not allowed to teach at school anymore. You're not allowed to attend school anymore. Was the very beginnings of it. And people accepted those levels, not knowing where it was going to go. Okay, so we talked about root words. Roots, if they're talking about it in a text, they'll separate the letters like this, okay? And they'll call them by their names rather than their sounds, okay? But when we're looking inside a word and we don't know what that word means, if we know some roots, we might be able to start to figure it out, okay? By the way, all of the words on that page, on page 71, are all words that come out of the Siddur. Some of them, like I said, are archaic and you don't see them anymore, but they are real words. Or they might be spelled a little bit differently in the modern interpretation, okay? All right. So now, I want to do just a little bit into Lesson 10. And next week we'll do more in Lesson 10. I don't know, I think we'll probably be able to finish Lesson 10 next week, but I won't absolutely promise that because I don't want to make anybody do what they're not comfortable finishing with. Then we will immediately make the transition into Book 2. So if you do not have your Book 2 yet, be sure to get it. Either see Rick if he still has some, or order one from Amazon, okay? Two left. So if you want them, they're $13 from Rick, which if you don't have Amazon Prime, at least that would save you more shipping and handling, perhaps.
I think they're more on Amazon.
You think they're more than the 13?
Yeah, I think it's a couple dollars more.
Okay, so you'll have to look and see, but get it from Rick if you can then. Also, if you are feeling kind of beyond yourself, you've missed some lessons or you're just overwhelmed and you just really would like to do some basic beginning stuff again, I'm starting Lesson 2 next week at 5 o'clock. I did Lesson 1 tonight at 5 o'clock. I have 2 students that have expressed a real interest and they're catching on quickly, so they were able to do Lesson 1 tonight. Lesson 2 will be next week. Probably also next week we will be retaping because Lesson 2 didn't get a very good tape. So Dale wants to retape Lesson 2. So we'll be retaping Lesson 2 from 5 till 6 next week. At some point we will also be going back and retaping Lesson 1 and we'll be retaping Lesson 3. So we'll probably be doing 2 and then the next week 3. So if you want to come back and refresh and review, if you want to wait till we get further along to where you missed out on a lesson and you'd like to get a little bit more information or you just want to practice some more, I know that Gail and Dan would love to have people to practice with as well. So it's up to you and your schedule what you're able to do. Also, last week, Pam gave us a wonderful set of study guides that she uses and showed us lots and lots of books. And to help you out, she printed out a form front and back. It also has her email address and her Facebook connection, okay? So if you want to connect with her, she absolutely loves it when people write to her and ask her questions. But she also has lots and lots of tools and reference tools that she would be glad to show you. On the YouTube, Dale, I understand some people are not able to tune into the YouTube, so I don't know how we can correct that, because some people have definitely gotten Lesson 9, and other people haven't been able to link into it. But Dale took individual photographs of each of the reference tools that Pam showed us last week. So if you go on YouTube and we figure that problem out, and Dale will be working on that and tell us how to do that, then you can see a picture of the reference books that she showed us last week. So, and we'll be doing some more of that, and I really invite you, if you have study tools that you particularly enjoy, that have helped you in learning things, by all means, bring them in. Let's show them to each other. You know, Jerry's going to do one with some of his favorite reference tools. I'm going to do one. If you have some too, I don't care if it's just one thing that you really love, bring it. Maybe nobody's ever heard of that. Maybe I've never heard of it. You know, and I'd like to learn from it. I had never heard of the astronomy book that Pam showed me, and I've been living at Pam's for months, so, and I'd never heard of that book, and so it's now on my bed because I'm reading it, ha ha. So, all right, so let's, any questions about where we're at or what's happening next? Okay, so in lesson 10, we have a couple new key words. Let's see if we can sound those out. Maybe we need to learn the letters first. That would be really good, Joan. Yeah, okay. If you really want to. That would make sense. Okay. All right, so our first new letter is this one. Can everybody see that? Its name is K-A-P-H, kaf. Using our trick, what's its sound going to be? K. All right. What's another letter that has the k sound? Kuf, right. What's it look like? Sort of like that, right? Yes. That's my kuf. In your book, it kind of looks like, what, they kind of like that, something like that. Okay, I don't care, whatever way you want to write it, okay? I've written a kuf like this for so long, I can't write it any other way, okay? So, and I wrote it on the wrong side of the board. Oh! Kuf, okay? This is not a chaf. You don't have to put any special into it, okay? It's just a k. Nice and easy. It's just a k, okay? It's a kaf, all right? So it just makes a k sound, just like this one does, okay? All right. The other letter is an ayin. And ayin... An ayin is spelled like ayin, but it's like this letter. We learned that this one's name was Aleph, but it has no sound. At the beginning, it just starts here, Aleph. Well, it kind of does, but doesn't. The letter itself is a space holder for the vowel. Okay, everybody remember that? We don't make a sound for it, we just say the vowel. Ayin is the same way. That's the end of the silent letters, okay? Hooray! There's only 2 of them, okay? In English, we have some other silent letters, don't we? There are times that an H is silent. There are times that an E is silent. and probably other ones. GH is sometimes silent, sometimes sounded, sometimes silent. A J is sometimes silent and sometimes sounded, okay? So IN doesn't make any sound, but it holds the space. So we're looking at what the vowel is underneath of it and just saying the sound of the vowel, okay? So now let's try and sound out those key words at the top of the page. Remember, the schwa brings a syllable to a close, so we have a harik, veit, close the syllable. So Eve,
Read.
and reet, ivrit, ivrit, ivrit. Can you say it? Ivrit. Now, other than Jerry, or maybe the other Jerry, look for a clue on that page. What does ivrit mean? There, it's written out on the page. You just got to stare around at it till you find it. Yes, ivrit. I'm right over here. Ayin. Boy, you guys are really fussing with me tonight. No. But it doesn't have a belly button, which means it has a V sound, right? So Eve, end syllable, Eve. Reet. Oh, did I miss the harik? Oh, well, you just are really fussing. I'm glad. Ivrit. Ivrit.
With the T, with the T.
Okay, Ivrit. Do you speak Ivrit? Yes, can. Okay. And did you bring that thing I asked? Did you get it out, the kippah? Okay, all right. So how about our other word? Spell for me.
Okay,
Nope.
okay, oh,
What, Kaf?
okay, I read,
Hirik?
yeah.
Okay. Tav? Are you sure?
No, pop, hey.
Pay.
That's a top.
It's a top. It is a top.
Oh,
Yeah. Did they do it wrong?
yeah, you're right. Let me see something. Maybe my other keyword is something else. Wait a minute. Let me see something here.
That means class maybe.
Yes, maybe so. Yes. All right. I was thinking it was another word. Sorry. All right. Kita. All right, so Tav. What else? A kamatz. Okay. And what else? A hey. Okay. Kita. Classroom. Okay. Classroom. Is it at the top of your page? No, it's at the top of my page.
It just gives us the words.
Yeah, it just gives us.
Yeah, I'm supposed to read and remember this stuff, you know? Okay. Okay. I'm not going to stress on the other two vocabulary things. We'll do them as we come upon them.
Yeah, T.
Okay. Let me see if there's something else we want to go to here.
Letter again, I E.
What's that?
The silent letter, I N.
Ayin. I think I think we will try and do some reading, but I'm going to have Pam do her pictographic next, and then we'll break into our groups and try and read page 73. Okay, so we'll let Pam take that away.
Okay. So we're gonna look tonight. We're gonna look at this letter, the Kaf. It's an interesting letter, and I'm learning a little bit as I go along here. There's on your paper that I gave you, the letter originally, when it was first formed, looked like this. So this is a little bit of a different lesson. I've seen it with 2 or 3. It looks like that in the pictographic form.
It's not a shin, though.
It's not a shin. But in the ancient land of Midian, you will find it looking like this. Okay. On your paper, it means the palm of the hand. And you can, the first one, that's reasonable, okay, palm of the hand, all right? But it means more than just the palm of the hand. The palm of the hand is the foundation of the hand, the sole of the hand, but it also means the sole of the foot. So you'll see it can mean the sole of the hand or the sole of the foot, all right? Now, God told Abraham that wherever he laid the sole of his foot, wherever he walked and laid the sole of his foot, that was the land he would give him for his people forever, okay? So throughout Israel, throughout the land of Midian, and throughout the Middle East, you're going to find this. And I'm not a very good drawer. Okay, and they'll even have the sandal straps on them. And for millenniums, they were confused about this. And then you had a good pictographic Hebrew scholar take a look at them, and he noticed by each one, you would have this, or you would have this, or you would have this. So it really meant the sole of the foot. It was distinctly Hebrew, the sole of the foot. So wherever the Israelites went after they left Egypt, after they crossed over, okay, they would put the soles of their feet and they would mark it. And you'll find that. So going to Jabal Laws in a couple weeks. One of the guys that I'm studying is Miles Jones. He's taken a look at some of the pictographs that are actually in the Sinai. And it's pretty awesome because you can see the soles of the feet. And I'm going to pass this around, but you can look, especially on this particular page, you can see the soles of the feet. And that is the land the Father promised. Wherever you put the sole of your foot, that's the land I will give you. I just think that's so awesome and so cool. What scripture is that, Jerry? Genesis 12 is where it starts, right in through. I knew it was early Genesis, but it does. In here?
Yeah.
Nope. But they found all over Jabal Laws, where they camped, by the split rock at Horeb, all over. You'll find these all over Saudi Arabia. You'll find them all over Israel. It's just pretty awesome. And those are just vestiges of the ancient ancestors and our father Abraham. I just think that's pretty awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and pass that around. I marked the page with a sticky. So you can see. So the word that we're going to look at, I'm going to just go ahead and pull this out because the pictographs tell an amazing story on that one. Okay, and that's why you have to know Hebrew. When you have modern sources that get you so far removed from the original meaning, to go back to the Hebrew. Remember, I told you last week that every single resource that I have is flawed. Every single one, every single Bible I have is flawed because it's interpretation of the real thing. It's man's interpretation of the real thing. To go back to as far back as you can to the original source, you can be more accurate and more accurate and more accurate. That's why it's important for you to learn Hebrew. Because what you think the Bible or what you've been told the Bible means may not necessarily be what it was originally. And that's why it's important for you. Our journey is to the Father. And I want to know the one who created me and who wrote that book. That's what I want to know. And I want to know exactly what he said. And it may match up with everything I learned from 7 years old, or it may not. But I need to relearn it and study it and find it out. So that's why Hebrew class for me is so important. And it made me at least comfortable with Hebrew so that I could go around and look up words. And I don't speak it fluently. I struggle sometimes in the group. But it makes me able to go and gives me a great study tool. And that's the purpose of this class. So, and that's what we want to give you, we want to introduce you to. So the Hebrew word that I'm going to give you tonight is akal, and it means to eat. It means to eat. And it stems from, we're going to talk about a root word tonight, because, not that I have them, so don't push me, Joni.
Repeat what I said, though, so that I wanna-
She wants to know if there's vowels. I don't know. I'm not a great vowel person. So, but I know this is a call, and it means to eat. And before I pictograph it out for you, I want to read you something. It's a great lesson. So I'm going to read from John chapter 6, verse 54. Whosoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood will have eternal life, and I will raise him up on the last day. Now, who eats his flesh and drinks his blood, you will never find that. In our Eastern mindset, we're like, it's cannibalism, and that was strictly forbidden by the Father. So what was Messiah saying? He's not going to break the law. He's going to do it perfectly. And so it doesn't really mean when you take communion that you eat his flesh. That's not what that is, all right? Because that's not what he intended for that. So what is he saying? What is he saying? The Aramaic word akal is derived from a Hebrew word kalal, kala, which means like the soul, or the inward parts. And it also, it's the soul, but there's also another part of a root word that comes from that, akalim, which means like the kidneys, like the inner parts of your body, right? So the purpose, and I just want to make sure I get this right, I believe the root word of alakam is but a play on the word kala. You have to consume the words of Messiah, akalam, so they become a part of your being. There's an ancient first century Galilean saying. It comes from understanding from the Galilee region, that if a person had reached the point where they were totally exhausted, and the exhaustion had just taken over their body, they would say, I have eaten my body and drank my blood. That was a first century Galilean phrase, okay? And they're really saying, I'm just exhausted. I have no strength left. I can't do this anymore. I can't go on.
Been consumed,
Party.
repeated, because they're gonna criticize me.
They say, be consumed. I don't know if it would be consumed, but it just means total exhaustion, all right? So everything is just eating me up inside. Eating my body, eating my body, my blood, everything's gone. So the word eat is the strength of the soul of the one who shepherds. So what Messiah is saying when he says, eat my body and drink my blood, he's saying, absorb and consume my word so that you may have life. Absorb it, read my word, and believe on it so that you can have life. Okay? That's what he's saying. So the word is akal, and it means to eat, but it means to
Just say one more time, strength of.
the strength or power of the soul.
Write those out like you usually do.
Oh, now you're hard on me. Write them out.
Write them out.
Huh? Okay.
Paleo it out.
All right. Okay. The strength or power and this one would be soul or palm. And this is the staff, the one who yokes himself or shepherds us. And so that would be that. And this is to yoke or shepherd.
And then write the whole definition the way you just did in a sentence. So that
So it would be the strength of the soul, but it's also you can also use soul, S-O-U-L, soul of the one who shepherds. Strength for the soul. So to eat. Okay?
And you do one more thing and write the word that you believe it's connected to. You told us another word,
Yes.
so that the YouTube has it on there.
Okay, let me,
And tell what you're writing.
I've got this. Okay. And that would be the word kala and akala, akalim. And I cannot, kalam, akalam. Those are root words. Those are root words. Root words, when you start to go into Hebrew and Hebrew study, root words are really important because they will help you. And when you did them tonight. Because when you find a word and you know what that root word is, you know what that root word means, it really helps define the word. Okay? So root words are very, very important. Again, I'm just a beginner type Hebrew person. So I have to go look this stuff up. That's why I have books. That's why I have books. So I really enjoy
Maybe,
maybe. Ella?
Aleph. You think it should be an Aleph on the end?
It could have.
Okay.
Alakam. I'm going to let you.
Maybe. I am strictly guessing from the way she pronounced the words.
And I'm not very good with the pronunciation.
So we will guess maybe. Okay, so we're going to break back into our reading groups, and we're going to try to get through the first page of the reading page, okay, which is page 73. And I want you particularly to look at that cool Hebrew word